My dad just told me not to come into the house and kicked me out. The door is locked too. Brianna started speaking, her voice strained with crying. In the ambulance, in a faint voice, my daughter certainly said so. She had been running a fever of over 100 degrees since this morning. I had an unavoidable work commitment and couldn't take the day off, so I couldn't be by her side. Then, Matthew unusually offered to take care of her. Shall I look after Brianna? I'm not too busy today and can work from home. Really? Are you sure? Can you cook as well? Sure. I can make soup or something, that much I can do, he said confidently. News came in the afternoon that trains were suspended due to the storm. And my workplace closed for the afternoon too. Worried about my daughter, I rushed home. Only to find her collapsed in front of the entrance, despite the storm. To my shock, she said that Matthew had left her outside without letting her in the house due to her high fever. 2 hours later, I received a call from Matthew. He was panicking. Hey, what should I do? It seems like Brianna has gone somewhere. I just took my eyes off her for a moment. His frantic call was strange. To me, it wasn't just a moment of distraction. He was lying. He had neglected her to the point of needing an ambulance. Anger welled up inside me, and I, along with my sister-in-law, devised a revenge plan. Brianna has died. What? No way. I will make this hopeless man deeply regret his actions. I am Tracy, 33 years old. I work as a preschool teacher, looking after about 20 children aged 1 to 3 years. I met my husband Matthew at a friend's wedding when I was 26, and he was 23. My first impression of him was that he was a frivolous man. I remember him approaching me with a rather flippant attitude, saying, "What's your name? You're cute." Personally, I've always had a hard time with people who are too casual or light-hearted. I had decided to ignore Matthew, but his persistence honestly wore me out. I couldn't stand it anymore and blurted out, "Hey. You're being too persistent." That inadvertently opened the door to a conversation. As expected, Matthew said, "Finally, you noticed me. Just as I thought, you're cute. Why don't we exchange phone numbers?" I sighed at his eager attitude. I thought I could just block him after giving him my messenger contact. But after talking to him, I realized he was actually very serious and kind. When I told him I was sick, he said, "I'm coming now. Wait for me." And came to take care of me with a bunch of get-well-soon gifts. It was an hour's drive from Matthew's house to mine, but he always came without a complaint. Perhaps because my first impression of him was the worst. I was drawn to his unexpected kindness and sincerity. In retrospect, I feel like I fell for Matthew's strategy. Eventually, we started dating, and a year later, he proposed, and we got married. 5 years ago, our lovely daughter was born. Her name is Brianna. A few days after her birth, my sister-in-law came to our house. Finally. "Nice to meet you, Brianna. Oh, she's so cute." My sister-in-law was smitten with my daughter, looking blissfully happy. As if her cheeks were about to fall on the floor. Even Matthew was a bit taken aback, saying, "Sis, you're really doting on her. But she really is super cute. Look." Well, yeah. Huh. She's cute, isn't she? We're so happy to be so adored by you, not just our daughter, but us too. We were all smitten with Brianna. My sister-in-law is also 33 years old, the same as me. That's why we have such a close, friendly relationship. Honestly, there's virtually no trouble with my in-laws. Currently, my sister-in-law is single. Hey, why don't you get married, Evelyn? You seem like you'd be popular. I'm deliberately not getting married. I was born a girl, so I want to be cherished forever. Choosing just one man is such a waste. True to her words, she's tall, slender, small-faced, and beautiful, so she really gets a lot of attention. So, I heard there are a lot of people who come on to her because of that. It's really something, isn't it? Tracy, whenever you're too busy to take care of Brianna, feel free to leave her with me. Auntie will shower her with lots of love. My sister-in-law stood proudly, hands on hips. That's so kind of you. Yeah, maybe Auntie will buy her all sorts of things too. What are you saying? I didn't say I'd buy anything. Just looking, only looking. Such exchanges are enjoyable. Time spent together as a family of 4 is truly joyful. And our daughter is growing up well-loved and healthy. Since my sister-in-law lives nearby, she often drops by saying, "I brought some groceries. Cook some for me too, since I'm single." Oh well, can't be helped. When my sister-in-law visits, she helps with the dishes, takes care of Brianna, and really is a huge help. Brianna is very fond of her aunt. I thought these peaceful days would last forever. But that happiness didn't last long. Recently, I've been concerned about Matthew coming home late. Up until last year, he rarely had to work overtime. Thinking about this, I decided to ask Matthew. Hey, Matthew. You've been doing a lot of overtime lately, haven't you? It's so late today too. That day, Matthew returned home past 10 p.m. Oh, is that so? Well, that's how it is. My job has increased since I got promoted. He seemed a bit hesitant and his eyes were darting around. I sensed something fishy but thought maybe it's because he's not used to the increased workload since his promotion a year ago. Still, Matthew works from home 2 or 3 times a week. He seems relaxed at home, but when he goes to the office, he comes home late. Is it really normal for there to be such extreme differences in work between going to the office and working from home? I understand you're busy with your new position, but you don't seem that busy when you're working from home. Is there such a big difference between working at the office and at home? Suddenly, Matthew became angry. What's this about? Are you doubting me or what? No, but I was just concerned. When I'm at the office, I'm doing a lot of work. There are times when I'm free during home office days. Don't interfere with my way of working. Saying this, Matthew slammed the living room door and went upstairs. I didn't intend to doubt him. Lately, such arguments have become frequent due to his many late nights. Despite trying to ignore it, a woman's intuition perhaps, I started to feel something was off. As his frequent late nights continued to cause me anxiety, I decided to discuss this with my close sister-in-law. Hey, Evelyn, I need to talk to you about something. What? You're scaring me. Recently, Matthew's been doing a lot of overtime and coming home late. Overtime? Was his company that busy? Right? Until now, it wasn't that kind of company. It's been getting really late since last year. And he never leaves his phone unattended. Isn't that suspicious? Matthew wasn't the type to be so passionate about work. Maybe he's cheating. No way. Really? You think so? I was a bit worried, but I had that feeling. Well, we don't know for sure yet. Surely my brother isn't that stupid. But well, there's a child involved. If he's cheating, I'll beat him up, leave it to me. Oh, that's a relief. Having my sister-in-law as an ally was truly reassuring. She was a strong and reliable presence. I felt slightly relieved of my anxious feelings. From then on, I stopped complaining even when Matthew came home late from work. Their relationship seemed to improve. Perhaps Matthew was feeling bad about being suspected. Thanks to my sister-in-law's support, I started to believe that Matthew wouldn't do something so foolish. One day, Brianna developed a high fever in the morning. It was unusual for her fever to reach over 100 degrees. "Mama, I'm hot." Her face was red and clearly in distress. I grew anxious seeing her condition. I wanted to take the day off for my daughter, but I had a performance event in my class that day. What should I do? I'm in trouble. I remembered my sister-in-law's words from before and decided to call her. "Hey, Evelyn. Are you busy today? Brianna's got a fever. Remember when you said you could look after her? Can I ask for your help? I can't miss work today because there's an event at the nursery school." Oh no. Bad timing. I'm on a trip with my boyfriend right now. I'll be back in the afternoon, but that won't be in time, right? I'm really sorry. And how's Brianna doing? Is she okay? So, my sister-in-law was on a trip. I felt guilty for disturbing her happy time. Oh, you're on a trip. Sorry for bothering you. It's okay, I'll figure something out. Even though I said I would figure it out, I had no idea what to do. My in-laws and her parents lived in another state. Too far to leave Brianna and still make it to work on time. As I panicked, Matthew asked from behind. "Isn't there anyone else you can ask?" "There's no one. Evelyn is on a trip too. But Brianna, she's got a high fever. What should I do? I'll look after her. I'm not too busy today and I can work from home." It was rare for Matthew to take care of Brianna himself. Usually, he couldn't do anything without me around. Since Brianna was born, he had only looked after her alone for a few hours when I was at the hair salon or at a doctor's appointment. Despite Matthew showing initiative and declaring he'd take care of her, I felt uneasy. "Hey, are you really sure it's okay? Can you make food?" Sure. I can make soup or something, that's easy enough." "Really? Since she has a fever, can you take her to the hospital? Get her medicine too. Keep checking the ice pillow's temperature and change it regularly. And make sure she stays hydrated." I know. You always worry too much." "Okay, thank you. I'll come back as soon as I can. Please take good care of Brianna." Matthew nodded with a look of exasperation at my worrisome nature. Suppressing my anxiety, I headed to work. As soon as I arrived and the play event was over, it suddenly started to rain heavily. Tracy thought, oh right, there was the storm forecast for today. The forecast had predicted the storm would approach around midnight. But it seemed to have changed its course. The sudden downpour made Tracy anxious. So she quickly returned to the staff room to check the weather forecast on TV. The news reported that all trains would be suspended from the afternoon due to the storm. As a result, the principal decided to cancel the afternoon play event. Despite having left Brianna with Matthew, I was increasingly worried and hurried home. It was about a 15-minute walk from the nearest station to my house. As I hurriedly walked, I heard a car horn beep. Turning around, I saw my sister-in-law. "Tracy. Are you heading back now?" "Oh, Evelyn. Yes, I am. How was your trip?" "It was fun. The trip with my boyfriend is over. But more importantly, is Brianna okay? Who's taking care of her? It looked like you had a great time, that's good to hear." Today, Matthew said he'd take care of Brianna, so I left her with him. But I haven't received any updates yet. I'm a bit worried. Matthew? Is everything okay? Yeah. Honestly, I'm quite worried. Really, he's so unreliable. Anyway, let's go by car. I'm worried too. Let's head back to your house. I'll stop by. You're planning to come over for dinner, aren't you? Busted? During our conversation, We decided my sister-in-law would drive me home. Walking 15 minutes from the station in the heavy rain would have been tough, so I was very grateful. Thanks, this is a big help. I decided to rely on my sister-in-law's offer. Before leaving work, I had messaged Matthew. I'm heading home now because we got the afternoon off due to the storm. How's Brianna? But there was no read receipt. As we got closer to the house, a sense of foreboding started to set in. Hey, is someone collapsed at the entrance? My voice trembling, not wanting to believe it. Really? Brianna. Brianna. In the midst of the storm, the person collapsed at the entrance was my beloved daughter. I quickly got out of my sister-in-law's car and rushed to Brianna, with my sister-in-law parking the car and hurrying to join us. Brianna. Brianna. Are you okay? While embracing the cold Brianna, I gently tapped her cheeks. Mama. Although Brianna seemed conscious, her fever appeared higher than in the morning, and her body felt cold from the rain, with her lips turning pale. I was confused and speechless in the serious situation, and received encouragement from my sister-in-law, Tracy. Are you okay? This looks dangerous. I'm calling an ambulance. I felt reassured by my level-headed sister-in-law's decision and regained some composure. Soon, the ambulance arrived. On the way to the hospital, I asked my daughter what had happened. Brianna, why were you outside when you had a fever? Daddy told me not to come into the house. The door was locked, so. Brianna said this in a small, trembling voice as she cried. What? Shocked by this revelation, my sister-in-law and I exchanged glances. It was unthinkable that Matthew had locked his feverish daughter out of the house. It was unlikely that Brianna, feeling unwell since morning, would go out to play on her own. There had been no contact from Matthew, who should have been at home. Not even a read receipt on her message. That makes sense. I thought to myself. I decided to step out of Brianna's hospital room to discuss the situation with my sister-in-law. What do you think Matthew is doing? He's definitely cheating, right? I'm sorry to say, but it's undeniable. To lock out a 5-year-old with a high fever in the storm, that's the lowest of the low. I can't believe it. Such a despicable act. If something happened to my daughter, The thought of the worst-case scenario was terrifying, and tears began to fall. As a sister, I can't forgive this. I will never forgive Matthew. I remember joking with my sister-in-law about punishing Matthew together before. But now, there was no room for smiles. We decided to lie to Matthew. About 2 hours after Brianna was admitted, Matthew called. Hey, what should I do? It seems like Brianna went somewhere. I just took my eyes off her for a second. Even over the phone, I could imagine his frantic state. Had he not seen the message I sent about coming back from work? But this wasn't just a slight delay in checking messages. He must be lying. If that were the case, he hadn't called an ambulance yet. Despite the rising anger, I tried to keep myself composed and asked calmly. Didn't I tell you before I left that Brianna was running a fever and needed to go to the hospital? Did you go? I was busy with work, couldn't make it. I asked you to take care of her, didn't I? You didn't lock her out of the house with a high fever, did you? Why would you say that? He must have slipped up. He really did lock the door. What a lowlife. Unbelievable. You locked out a 5-year-old in the storm? Just took your eyes off her for a second? Liar. You're the worst. Scumbag. It might have been the first time I raised my voice so loudly. My angry shouts echoed down the hallway. Sorry. I was busy. As Matthew tried to make excuses, I decided to tell the lie Evelyn and I had planned. Brianna is dead. Because of you. Matthew seemed unable to grasp the meaning of my words, and a few seconds of silence followed. No, that can't be, it's a lie, right? It's true. I'm getting a divorce. Goodbye. Without waiting for a response, I hung up and blocked his number. My sister-in-law received several calls from Matthew too, but she followed the plan and told him, "Your niece has passed away from debilitation," and then blocked him. Fortunately, Brianna's condition improved quickly, and she was discharged the next day. So we decided to spend some time together at my sister-in-law's house. My sister-in-law was truly cheerful and full of energy, making our previous hardships seem like a lie, and both Brianna and I enjoyed our time with her. However, I hadn't finished my revenge on Matthew yet. Together with my sister-in-law, I hired a lawyer and gathered a lot of evidence to further our revenge on Matthew. Unbelievably, even though he thought his daughter had died, Matthew seemed to be enjoying himself daily with his mistress. After collecting evidence and confirming the time when Matthew and his mistress were together, we headed to his house. As we opened the front door, we found unfamiliar pumps lined up. With a heavy sigh, I headed straight to the bedroom without hesitation. What, Tracy. And, sis. Why are you here? Matthew, in his pathetic state of being in just his underwear, was so startled that he lost his balance and fell off the bed. It was embarrassing that this man was my husband. You really are the lowest of the low, you know. Brianna is dead, and you're scum. Oh no, this is a misunderstanding. As Matthew tried to make excuses, my sister-in-law suddenly punched him without mercy. Bang. Ow, that hurts. Matthew was knocked off the bed. Ignoring the fallen Matthew, my sister-in-law raised her voice. You're the worst. We have all the evidence. My sister-in-law scattered the evidence photos over Matthew's face with such intensity that I couldn't help but laugh. The woman, sensing danger, hurriedly tried to gather her clothes to escape. My sister-in-law quickly grabbed the woman's arm and took several photos of her face with her phone. Wait a minute. Don't run. Planning to ruin someone's family and then escape? I've got your photos, you know? You'll pay a hefty compensation. Don't think you can escape. The woman, hearing these harsh words from a beautiful person, crumbled to her knees in fear. Matthew, perhaps in pain from the punch, held his cheek and looked defeated, on the verge of tears. The whole scene was ridiculously comical. Oh, and about the compensation and child support. Pay it all at once, okay? I can't wait. Child support. Oh, didn't I mention? Brianna is alive. But to her, you're now a stranger. You lied. Do you know how much I've suffered? I was speechless at his ridiculous words. What are you saying? You're so insincere. Busy with that woman, you didn't even try to look for Brianna or come to see her. My sister-in-law, trembling with anger, stood by me and said, "It's okay. They'll get what they deserve eventually. Let's go, we've got all the evidence we need from these idiots." I'm still grateful for my sister-in-law being there for me. After that, my divorce from Matthew was finalized. The property division and child support were paid in full. I'm not sure where they got the money, but I only hope they suffer for it. Through the lawyer's investigation, we found out that Matthew's mistress was an office clerk at his workplace. I leaked the information to one of Matthew's chatty senior colleagues, who, as expected, spread the story of the affair throughout the company. The rumor spread all over the company, and as a result, Matthew was demoted and transferred due to causing a problem at work. The woman also felt uncomfortable and left the company. The woman had to pay $10,000 in the lawsuit. Paying $10,000 for such a man must have been hard on her. She's apparently working night shifts to repay the compensation. My sister-in-law, Brianna, and I started living together. It's great to see Brianna every day and share the rent. My sister-in-law was happy. I'm always amazed by my sister-in-law's generous heart. Despite everything that's happened, I'm determined to be happy for Brianna and my sister-in-law.